Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Tatiana's Book Corner. Today we have an exciting new read, one that is surely to make even the most well-read among us ponder everything. I know we've all been reading War and Peace for our weekly reading assignment, but put them away, because this is far more important. Granny knows the earth is round. And flat. Look at this piece of crap. I am sorry, Suzanne, Emmerich and Moses, but I am going to rip this a new asshole. You may have noticed this latest setup I've devised. It's a Chili's bottle with a webcam on top of it, which I think you'll agree is the pinnacle of my channel. But now we have two cameras. Are you not? Impressed is the wrong word. Yes, this is a scarf my microphone is laying on top of. That is on purpose, because my desk vibes harder than 8-year-olds at a school disco. I want you to look at this. Now look me in the eyes and tell me you would give this to your kids and feel good about it. I want you to put yourself in the shoes of a flat earther. You believe that the flat earth is real and you want to tell your kid, look me in the eyes and tell me this is the book you'd give them. What did they say this book was suitable for? What, 8 to 11-year-olds? Yeah, maybe if they're blind. I wonder how this book was made, because a cover of this quality was probably made in a very advanced piece of software. This book took 2 months, that's right, a whole 2 months to make. I mean, they must have been thinking about how this book looked all that time and how best to make it attractive and make kids want to read it. Which is funny because it took me less than 5 seconds to find the exact font they used on Microsoft Word. It's Algerian, the 9th font down, just above Alien Encounters, a much cooler font, but underneath Alfredo. I also saw a font called Almond Snow, which I know is meant to be snow on top, but it just looks like somebody nut over each letter. So if we turn the book to the back cover, we see there is nothing, which perfectly represents how much thought was put into these theories. Now don't worry about reading from this camera, because I have scanned in every single page, which, even though there's only 30 pages, took me way longer than I want to admit. Little Susie came running in from school, put down her backpack, and greeted her dear Granny with a big hug, which Granny happily returned. "How was school today, dear?" Granny asked. "What new gem of knowledge did you bring home with you today?" She is ready to smack that gem out of her hand already. Presumably the end of a sunny day, which Granny already has a roaring fireplace on. I mean, Jesus, is it that cold? Although, maybe it's not a real fireplace, because the chimney seems to end at the window. I'm beginning to suspect Moses may not be a professional artist, or know how chimneys work. Oh, and let's not forget Susie. I mean, take note on her outfit. Black skirt, socks, and some red button shirt. Also, what looks like a completely twisted knee. I mean, what is even up with the other one? Susie's eyes brightened as she told Grandma how she had learned about Magellan and how he had sailed around the world and proved the earth was round. Actually, the ancient Greeks proved that in the 5th century. They used shadows to prove it was round. Shadows. That's right, when they weren't shagging each other, it was right down to figuring out everything. A little bit of bum, pussy, and philosophy. It's a good life to be in the ancient Greeks, until the Christians came. No. And here's the picture of Earth that I drew and coloured. See, Granny? Granny lowered her knitting needles and looked over her glasses at the beautiful blue, brown, and green, round ball Earth her granddaughter held proudly in front of her. Oh, Susie, you've completely changed clothes, I see. And you're also half the size you used to be. She's clearly also wearing some kind of dungaree and stripy top combo, but on the next page it's just a red shirt. So I can only assume they started drawing this design, realised it would take too long for every single page, and it was easier just to do a red shirt, but was also too lazy to redraw the page, so just coloured over it with a red pen. The quality of this book amazes me. Well, that's lovely, Susie. Look at all those colours. But you know, the earth doesn't have to be shaped like a ball in order for it to be round. It doesn't, Susie puzzled. Why, of course not, dear. That pizza we had last night was round, wasn't it? Uh-huh. And the table we sit at and the plates we eat from every night are round too. aren't they, Miss Susie? And they are most certainly aren't round like a ball. Isn't that right, Susie? Yeah, Granny, you're right, Susie exclaimed. Wow, Granny, you sure do know basic shapes. But when people say the Earth is round, they mean round like a ball. It's round, like in 3 dimensions. This isn't a gotcha moment, that's a mistranslation. These two images of Susie, they look identical, but they aren't. The body is different, even though it's in the same sort of place, and the hair is different, even though it's not really. The face is the same, but the mouth isn't coloured in one of them. What's the point of almost copying the drawings? Just copy-paste or draw something else. You're too lazy to colour it in a striped shirt, but not lazy enough to not copy the same drawing. I don't understand. Then Susie thought back to what she had learned in school. Yes, but Magellan sailed all the way around the world and returned to where he left. So that means it's round, like a ball, Susie exclaimed. Granny just smiled, with a sparkle of wisdom in her eyes. I have no idea what that is meant to represent. Going from Canada to Germany to South Africa to Japan, but all the way around that is America. I don't understand. You run around the racetrack at school, don't you, Susie? Granny remarked. And you start and finish at the same place, do you not? That racetrack is most definitely round, but that doesn't make it a ball now, does it, dear? Yes, but you physically turn on a track. The track doesn't bend magically as you run forward. Space-time doesn't change the running track. Magellan and every other person that uses the boat would have to know the Earth was flat in order to navigate it correctly, otherwise they would go off the edge, or just spend too much time out at sea. Because, let's give an example, if the Bolivian Navy, which is a real thing, decided to invade Australia, this is the shortest route. But if it's on a flat Earth map, and this is the one you show in the book, so I'm assuming this is the one you believe, then the shortest route is travelling up the coast of America, past the North Pole, down Asia to get to Australia, which would be really easy for you to find out with a boat and a stopwatch. Susie stopped and pondered. So Granny, are you saying the Earth is not a ball? Are you saying it's flat, like people used to believe? Granny, with a knowing twinkle in her eye, put down her knitting needles, grabbed her cane, and replied, and now close your eyes. I'm going to read the next bit without images. Take hold of my cane, Miss Susie. I want to show you something. Now, hold on tight. You ready, Susie? Here we go. Very suspect. And she's also wearing dungarees on only half of her top. How? Why? Now, you may be thinking, Tatiana, I get it now. I know how bad the art is. I've seen all there is to see. Well, child, prepare yourself. You are about to see something beautiful. How? I mean, there's more of this. There is so much more. It's basically every page from now on has an image like this, and I do not understand how anyone thought this was a good idea. Some of my highlights of this is page 12 with a bird they got from another picture and stuck it on a picture of the ground. Really? Have you never heard of a PNG? Like, for real? And that's not talking about the fact that they've coloured in the background of the Granny and Susie flying on a magic cane thing. I know for a fact that a version of Microsoft Word has a way of removing a solid coloured background from an image. Which means if they just didn't colour in the background of these pictures, they could have just removed the white background and stuck them in the image. But that would mean putting in an ounce of effort. I mean, 2 months must have been so long, you couldn't have put any more time into this. There's also ones like page 14, where there's just an image of Susie falling, but she's also in the picture with Granny, and there's no mention in the book about her flying or falling off the cane, so I'm like 80% sure it's a mistake and they just put clouds around it anyway. I really don't understand how you could mess this up so much. Oh wow, look at that! What's that, Granny? Susie exclaimed. Why, those are the Great Plains covering over 1 million square miles of North America. See how you can see for miles and miles? All flat, stretching out as far as the eye can see. As far as the eye can see. Granny, what do you mean? Do your eyes have a render distance? If it's flat, you could see forever. Stars are billions of light years away, and we can see them. But on Earth you can go to about 5 kilometers, then it just cuts out. But only on the ground, because the atmosphere is 12 kilometers up. But remember, space isn't actually real, so who knows how far that goes up. 8.9 kilometers exactly, the height of Mount Everest. At the top there's a little hatch so you can get in and climb above the sky to change the batteries for the sun. Then Granny changed course. Where are we going now, Granny? Just wait, you'll see. With that, Granny and Susie were whisked off, zigging and zagging every which way, until moments later. Susie's eyes widened as the vast plains painted with reds and greens and brown mountains and meandering blue rivers stretched out before her. Grandma, where are we? These are the Great Siberian Plains of Russia. Granny, no, you're entering Russian airspace. Granny, watch out for that 48 N6E. Come on, Miss Susie, we have much to see. Hold on now, come with me. She doesn't have much of a choice. What are you going to do, leave her in Russia? And with that, Granny changed course yet again, taking little Susie zigging and zagging up and down, right to left, and to and fro. And Susie's wonderment did grow and grow. Oh wow, Granny, where are we now? This is the Great African Savannah, covering around 65% of the entire continent. Quite amazing, isn't it, Miss Susie? Wow, it's incredible, Granny. And flat, in all directions. Hey Granny, since we're on a magical flying cane, why don't we go a little higher, and then we could see the entire world flat. Shut the f*** up, kid. I'll push you off right now. You want to get eaten by a lion? Do you want that, Susie? Granny, Susie queried. Yes, Miss Susie. Can we see some more? Do we have time? Why, of course. For you, I have all the time in the world. Well, Granny, you're in a bit of a risk area right now. I mean, there's the whole, going on outside. I mean, I wouldn't say all the time in the world. Hold on now, Granny warned. We have lots of area to cover. Much more to see. And with that, Susie and Granny were whisked off to their next destination, zigging and zagging, right and left. I wonder how they accurately measured those spaces, Be crazy if they did it with an object that could see from a great height, that could accurately pinpoint the exact size of something. I mean, that would be mad, right? Many vast and great cities, stretching out in all directions as far and as wide as the eye could see. Oh look, Granny, it's the Grand Canyon. I've never been to the Grand Canyon before, Susie exclaimed with delight, which would suggest that Susie has actually already been to Africa, Australia, Russia. And Granny, even with all the mountains and hills, you're right, it's still flat. Yes, of course, Susie. Didn't I tell you? Our world is round, like your dinner plate, but flat, in every direction, as far and wide as the eye can see. And now, said Granny, I have a few more places I want to show you. Perhaps the greatest proof that our world is most certainly flat. What's that, Granny? The water! The water? Susie puzzled. Ah yes, my favourite page. Terrible resolution images of water. This one is literally just ripped off Facebook. I mean, it's got words on it. And with that, they zigged and zagged and zoomed like a rocket over the mountains and valleys, hills and plains, lakes and streams, deserts and forests, all stretched out over the endlessly flat terrain. Granny pointed down, her eyes aglow with excitement. Susie! Susie! Look down there! Susie's eyes grew big with wonder. Oh wow, Granny, what's that place? Hell! That's the Amazon River and Rainforest, Susie. The river stretches for over 4,000 miles. You were just talking about the water. You wanted to go to the water, then you went back to the other terrain, then you went to the Amazon rainforest, and then you were like, oh crap, I forgot. We've got to go back to the water. Why wouldn't you... Is this out of order? I mean, at least be consistent, come on! The sunlight glistened and danced and sparkled atop the water as the light shone just for them. Pretty vain. See, Susie? Flat as far as the eye can see. And 75% of the Earth is covered with it. Wow. I wonder how they found out that exactly 75% of the Earth was covered in water. I wonder how they exactly found out that number. Put it in a glass, a bathtub, or even the Great Ocean Basin, and it will always lie flat. See, Susie? It was soon growing dark, as the sun continued its journey around its daily course, moving further and further off into the distance until it set, meaning it disappeared out of sight. That's right, it set, which means it moved below the horizon, but didn't actually, because it moved out of sight, which just looks like it was going below the horizon, but doesn't actually, because that doesn't fit with the flat Earth model. So why does it go behind the horizon, Karen? They never mentioned the granny's name, but I'm pretty sure it's Karen. Susie was in awe, filled with utter amazement and curiosity. Hey, Granny, I see a ship, like, off into the distance, but when it's getting too far away, it's going, like, half the boat is under the horizon, and it's going down, like, down under the horizon? Like, what does that mean? Susie, if you don't shut the f*** up, I'm going to leave you here in the Pacific Ocean. Do you know why they call it the Pacific Ocean? Because it's peaceful. No one will find you out here, Susie. Do you understand me? But Grandma, if the Earth is truly flat, as it appears, Susie pondered, then how come all this water doesn't fall off the edge? Why, that's a good question, Miss Susie. I'm glad you asked. Come with me, and I'll show you. But first, we better put on these. And out of her miniature handbag, Granny pulled out 2 big parkas, one for each to wear. Oh my god, it's so cold, Grandma's nose has fallen off. Why do we need these, Granny? Susie asked. We're in summer now. Not where we're going, my dear. And with that, Granny's magic cane took them zigging and zagging, zooming and roaring, heading south, 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 until... It's the ice wall. Granny, Granny, look at that, Susie exclaimed. Is that all ice? Why, yes. That's the Great Antarctic Ice Wall, and it goes around and just keeps going, surrounding all of the ocean, like the shoreline of a huge lake. Granny, it's so tall, and it looks like it goes on forever. Where does it end, Granny? Susie queried, with amazed curiosity. Well, I've read that really, your grandma character, who knows everything, has just said she's red. Where did you read this one, Granny? Facebook? Well, I've read that it's said to be between 150 and 250 feet high. But how far it goes, no one knows, Granny replied. That's part of the mystery of our world. Wow, Granny, our world is more amazing than I ever imagined, Susie marvelled. But Granny? Yes, dear? I'm getting cold. Can we go home now? Why, of course, Miss Susie. You read my mind. That's right, by the way, it's physically impossible to get to the other side of the South Pole, which means anyone that's ever done it is lying. There was no race to the centre of the South Pole, no one has ever crossed it, and there's probably no bases in the South Pole. Yeah, they're all fake, for some reason. Hey Granny, why don't we just fly over the Antarctic wall and we can see how far it goes on our magic flying cane? Oh, we can't do that, Susie. The UN military fleet will shoot us down with ground-to-air missiles. And off they went, zigging and zagging, up and down, to and fro, back to home sweet home. It's late, Miss Susie. You must be tired, and you have to get up early to go to school tomorrow. Let's get you changed and into bed, huh? Oh, Granny, can I just stay up a little while longer? Susie asked. There's something I want to do first. And before Granny could get a word out, Susie had retreated to her room, with an air of excitement and purpose. Moments later, as Granny sat knitting in her armchair, with her eyes growing heavy and ready to sleep, out ran little Susie, bursting with excitement, eager to show her Granny what she had made. Also, Granny has become a completely different person. I mean, these are not the same people. And I'm fairly certain that's not Susie. Look, Granny, I made something for you, announced Susie, bubbling with pride. Oh, did you? Well, what is it? The excitement is killing me. Grandma has shape-shifted again into a completely new character. Little Susie opened up her piece of paper with great pride and a smile as large as the sun. It's a new drawing I made. Of Earth. Oh my. Well, will you look at that, Granny exclaimed. You came up with that yourself? Well, I had a little help from my school book. It showed a picture of the flat Earth with the water falling off the edge, when we were learning about Magellan and Christopher Columbus. So I just changed it a little and added the ice wall to keep all the water in. Susie beamed. That is the pinnacle of flat Earth science. It's, oh, here's the flat Earth model. Oh, there's a problem with it, it doesn't quite work. Well, we'll just add something to it to fix it. Water's falling off the edge? Put an ice wall around it. The sun orbiting it doesn't work? Well, you see, the sun is a spotlight that just moves around this bit. Eventually, people are just going to be suggesting problems with it, and flat earthers are going to be adding solutions to it. That they'll probably eventually just reinvent the globe. Although it won't be called the globe, it will be called the three-dimensional flat earth. You know, it's still flat, just, you know, bent. Well, aren't you clever? Now that is worthy of a place right here on this wall, Granny praised. Yes, turning a page with massive opera gloves on is as difficult as you would imagine. I know there's a last page on here, you're gonna have to turn for me. And with that, little Susie let out a big yawn and gave her Granny a big hug and a kiss on the cheek. Good night. Good night, Granny. I love you. Thanks for showing me the truth. Good night, love, Granny returned. But you know, Susie, many people cannot see the truth even when it's right in front of them, so that makes you, Miss Susie, someone very special indeed. That's right, children reading this book. If you go to school and people are making fun of you for believing in the flat earth, they're the idiots, and, you know, they just can't see the truth. They're blind. You're the special one. You've got a special gift. Don't question anything ever again. With a lovely The End image, which is a dark picture of the water with The End written on it. Not a picture, you know, they've drawn or anything. Nope, just nicked it off the internet. Nice work. Now, when I originally saw this book existed, I was, you know, super excited, and, you know, I said, oh, 2,000 likes and I'll get this book, but I bought it immediately. I went on Amazon and it was the only link that worked for this book. There were several like lists of where it had been, but Amazon was the only one it had it still listed on. When I went on Amazon, it said there was only one left, and I bought it thinking, yeah, pretty happily to myself, oh, I've done the world a favour because at least a flat earther won't be buying this book. But now I've realised it says printed in Great Britain by Amazon, which means by buying that last book, I may have encouraged Amazon to print a new batch of these books. So I probably did the wrong thing, but not to worry. The book is truly something to behold. Very little thought and effort was put into it, which is something you would come to expect from flat earthers. The book has so little information in it, except for a lot of information about how many square miles flat locations are on the earth. Everything else is just padding, and to be completely honest, even if you read this to a child, I don't think it would be convincing, you know, especially to the age demographic. It's 8 to 11-year-olds is what they were aiming for. I mean, at that age, their reading level is way above this anyway, so I mean, it's not going to exactly impress them. So, to be completely honest, I don't think this is very much a danger. It was actually my dad that brought up an interesting point about flat earthers, and he said that it's not that flat earthers actually believe in the flat earth, because they don't have the scientific know-how to ever, like, prove to themselves that the flat earth exists. It's that the flat earthers want to go against the grain. They want to believe they're better than other people. They're not sheep like the rest of us, so they go against something that is commonly accepted. And to be honest, that's kind of a modern sentiment, and I don't think many flat earther kids are really gonna be into it. I believe we'll have a generation of kids that believe in the flat earth. If this is the quality of information that their parents are telling them, then I'm pretty sure Google Earth will blow their minds the first time they see it. Anyway guys, I hope you enjoyed reading through Granny Knows the Earth is Round and Flat. I'm not entirely sure what I'm going to do with this book. Maybe once the thing's finished, I might send it to someone on Patreon or something. I might sign it and send it off. Might be fun. Because although the book is amazing, it's not something I'm going to treasure. So anyway guys, I really hope you enjoyed this video. Please share it around, I'd love for more people to see it. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe, like the video, and comment on the video, because commenting is the best way to help out the video's performance. I have a Twitter, I have an Instagram, and I have a Discord. All the links are down in the description. I have a Patreon, but please don't feel the need to support me during the current times. Money may be tight, or even getting tighter depending on which country you live in, and I'd rather you were financially safe. Anyway guys, thank you all for watching, and I will see you next time.